Ty West comes out with his latest of the end of the series of his X series. I'm going to talk about it. Let's talk MaXXXine.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe, the guy who's stalking you around Hollywood.
I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast, and thanks for finding us, and thanks for watching. Of course, hit the like and subscribe button. It's a big thing, it's a little thing you can do, but it's a big thing for us. We do have a Patreon. Check that out for some great deals and great content. And of course, an opportunity to tell us what movies we could review for future episodes with a shout out to you. And we're Minnesota Film Critics, part of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check out that webpage. What is going on with MaXXXine? As if anybody didn't know.
Well, it's 1980s, Nick, and adult film star MaXXXine Minks may have just gotten her big break with the horror sequel, The Puritan 2.
Yeah.
This occurs at the same time as the Night Stalker maneuvering through L.A., while a mysterious figure also searches for MaXXXine with knowledge of her past.
Okay, already polarizing reviews have come out, but one of my harshest criticisms for Late Night with the Devil was this: not enough smoking for me to convince me it was late 70s with that movie. This movie is supposed to take place in 1985, and I think it has the right amount of cocaine to convince me it's 1985.
I mean, hell, there was a Coke commercial in the theater before we saw it, so even that was almost like our introduction.
Already going in, I don't know, everybody wants to categorize and list their favorites from Pearl X into this one, and this one, it feels like it's just part of the whole nexus. I don't put it above or below, but people have picked out their favorites, so I'm like Pearl over that, but I treat them almost as a balanced equal. I don't think it's a cop-out to me, but Ty West has a signature style. He's not going to stay away from it, and I think people who are reviewing the movie expected something a little more up, but I think he's still he's staying to his own nexus that he feels as part of this whole canon of trilogy.
Yeah, he's an extremely dour director through a lot of his filmmaking work. I mean, even going back to one of the movies I hate in this world, which is Cabin Fever 2, which he even denounces. But that movie is atrocious, but it's incredibly dour, and you can see that on the outset. And I think when he followed up with films like House of the Devil, The Innkeepers, The Sacrament, all very dour, dark films.
Valley of Violence was very immature filming.
Yeah.
The techniques and everything is very immature. He's very much grown up into his own comfortable way of doing movies.
Yeah, and here he's kind of giving his almost like Tarantino does horror in terms of the way he pulls influences from other things. Because you and I could have been writing down a list of things that were referenced in the film.
Oh, it very much Brian De Palma. Yeah, very much like that. Very much Dario Argento. It was a mixture of Dario Argento, Brian De Palma, early 80s. Giallo slasher. That's probably like it more than a lot of other people do. And I knew it was going to happen at the ending because Dario Argento does that all the time in his movies. This kind of ending to this. Of course, Kevin Bacon is a private detective who looks like Jake from Chinatown. Yeah, in Hollywood.
It's Keed.
Keed. And you have these psycho references. So people have thought that he sacrificed story over its inspirations.
See, and I feel like if there's one thing I'll say about the film in the opposite direction, I feel like he gets maybe a little too ambitious for his own good with the multiple plot lines and I think some of them get disserviced. I think the two cops, Michelle Monaghan and Bobby Cannavale, kind of get sent to the background for a large portion of the film, and then they're brought out for the finale, and I felt like what happens to their characters just didn't seem to service.
So you kind of agree that a little more story would have been better.
I think it's more that what he is referencing, the Italian kind of style that he's using, the Giallo style, is also kind of known for those kinds of faults occasionally, too, of just having way too many things going on, or oftentimes not enough. But, there's kind of that, symbionce of trying to find that. So in some ways, it fits what he's going for.
Exactly, right, yes. Yeah, and that's why I'm so appreciative. This is kind of the movies I grew up with, these early 80s, Brian De Palma's, Dario Argento's, these, very much like Tenebrae and all that stuff, this kind of movie that he's referencing in the Hollywood. I like the aspect of nobody in this movie is a hero.
Yeah.
Nobody. And I think that's another thing of a sour note to this. There are no heroes in this movie. Even MaXXXine is a terrible person.
I think we see MaXXXine in a highlight when we start the film because we know what she's been through. But as the film goes on, we tend to uncover layers where it's like, I understand why she's doing what she's doing, but I can't condone it. And, we get that quote right at the beginning of the film.
Betty Davis says you have to be a monster to be a star.
She basically, you either die in the 70s farm or you live long enough to see yourself become the 80s killer. So, we kind of have that going on with her. And it's a really nice character arc across these, two films really, because she's not in Pearl, but the way in which she plays Pearl in the two films we see her, and the way in which she plays MaXXXine are different sides of the same coin.
Right. I love all the camp involved. The comedy is part of the camp. What do all right, freeze buster, that kind of stuff. And I think people who are not familiar with this content are, oh, this is now he's trash. But I think he's actually elevated. I don't know if that's the opposite. If you disagree, please put a comment in. I'd love to correspond with you. But I think he's maturing far better through what he wants to do, because his earlier movies is pretty much what he thought everybody wanted. Now he's doing his own thing.
Well, and I think people are missing, and I think part of it is in the marketing. It's kind of playing it up as this like glamorous 80s horror film, when really throughout the entire film we get the sense that we're watching a VHS tape. We're watching a direct-to-video horror film from the 80s. We're watching something that's low down.
That's why I'm wearing my shirt.
At its most, like, ripped apart, which is kind of what X was for the 70s. And again, he's going back to this element of, even amongst horror, direct-to-video VHS was seen as kind of a...
trash.
Yeah, a lower level, just like how the adult film part of 70s was done that same way.
That's what I put on social media. Continue trash the movie. It's just going to make it better.
Yeah. Well, and she's taken this idea. I mean, this movie really matches with X nicely, because she's traded one blasphemous job, adult film star, with another horror sequel star. And I think I appreciate that her big break isn't a horror sequel, and it's with a director played by Elizabeth Debicki who like has this vision of how she's going to make this low down horror sequel work.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to make this work, but right, I want to see the Puritan and 1 and 2 already.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm already thinking about what's happening in the Puritan 3.
And I get the metaphor of you have to be a Puritan, but you're going to dabble in the filth of Hollywood.
Yeah,
and then the Puritans. I love this play of the Puritan that they're making the movie, and it's just a mixture of inaction of what the muckiness you have to deal with Hollywood.
Yeah. All throughout the film, I think there's a lot of great things about it. I do think it's probably the least polished of the three of the films, because he is throwing a lot of things at the wall.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from my enjoyment of it, but you're right. Like things like the ending reveals, I kind of knew where we were going with that.
Very much like
very
Inferno, very much like Tenebrae.
But and then like so many plot lines that we didn't really get as much time with any specific one. Like I get all those criticisms, and I can see those on the film. Still enjoying it for what it is, because you're right. This is my bread and butter in the morning.
Right. I think you're embracing the trashiness of cinema. You're not glamoring it, and it's that it totally fits into the straight to rental box that you saw at the video store. That you kind of like, oh, this is really awful bad.
Yeah, but I do like that the film almost has an alternate side of the coin finale to Boogie Nights. Instead of getting that you're a star, you're a big, bright, shining star, we get the you're a star, here's a head on a bed. I really like, and like the pull out of it very much seems like there was a reference to kind of like, again, the film ends, I feel, with the tying together of those two ideas of the adult film world and the horror film world, and how we've made it.
Yeah, and how horror and adult films are kind of treated the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to move out of it, and some people just enjoy being in it.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I don't know how we're going to move on from this. I don't think Ty West wants to. I think him and Maya Goth kind of cemented that this is just 3 parts. But I'm interested to see what he wants to do after this. There's so many things. I don't know if you want to do the Tarantino path. You want to go do westerns. You want to do this or that, or crime or something like that. But obviously... he has a little bit of financial backing from Hollywood producers to branch out a little bit.
Yeah, and I think there's places he could go if he wanted to continue the story. I've heard rumblings that they were talking about doing another film, and I could very easily see them coming together maybe like 5-10 years down the road to do a 90s set, washed up actress kind of a situation, and having it kind of taking a laugh at maybe even just the kind of like the loss of the slasher in the 90s and how we were kind of lost searching for it, looking for that meta nature.
Yeah.
I think there's a possibility.
Okay. So what do you think of our assessment of MaXXXine? I'm highly recommending it, especially if you're a horror, Giallo, slasher fan. I'm sure you appreciate it as well.
Yeah, you've probably already seen it, and we really hope you did, and that you've come back and told us all the things you loved about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can give us your ranking of the trilogy, of your Ty West films that you really like. We'd love to engage with you down in the comments section below. Thank you so much for joining us. And you can find my film reviews. I've got a few on Ty West films over on goatfilmreviews.com.
I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. And, of course, that is a banger soundtrack it has.
Yeah, and not just the big hits.